The text came at 2 a.m. Glowing like a dagger in the dark, $10,000 to make him leave her. My sister's words burned through the screen, sharp and cold, promising a way out of my crumbling life. I stared at the message, heart pounding, knowing this was the kind of deal that could save me or destroy everything. San Francisco's fog clung to the streets like a secret as I walked to meet him. My name's Eli, 24, a barista with a rap sheet for petty theft and a knack for breaking things promises. Trust. You name it. My sister, Clara, was the golden child. The one who got the Ivy League degree and the fiancé who checked every box, Ethan Caldwell. 28. Tech heir. Charming. And stupidly handsome. But Clara didn't love him. She loved her freedom, her career, and the idea of never being tied down. So she hired me, her screw-up brother, to ruin it all. The plan was simple: get close to Ethan, dig up dirt, or plant it if I had to. Make him look like a cheater, a liar, anything to give Clara an out without her looking like the bad guy. I'd done shadier things for less, so I said yes. The money would clear my debts, maybe even get me out of this city where every corner reminded me of my failures. But as I stepped into the upscale bar where Ethan was waiting, I felt the first crack in my resolve. He was alone at a corner table, nursing a whiskey, his dark hair catching the dim light. His eyes, a piercing green, flicked up as I approached, and for a second, I forgot I was there to con him. "You must be Eli," he said, voice low and warm, like he already knew me. Clara had set this up, told him I was a friend who needed advice on breaking into tech. A lie, of course, but Ethan didn't know that. He leaned forward, genuinely curious, asking about my life, my dreams. I fed him half-truths, each one easier than the last. But his sincerity was disarming. He wasn't the arrogant rich guy I'd expected. He was human. Over the next few weeks, I played my part. Coffee meetups turned into late-night talks at his penthouse, where the city skyline glittered like a promise. I'd slip in questions about Clara, probing for cracks in their relationship. But Ethan was loyal, deflecting with a sad smile. "She's perfect," he'd say, but his eyes told a different story. Lonely, searching. I started to notice things, the way he'd linger when our shoulders brushed, the way his laugh softened when I teased him. I told myself it was part of the act, but my heart was racing for reasons I couldn't admit. One night, after too many drinks, Ethan grabbed my hand under the table. "Why do I feel like I can tell you anything?" he whispered. My throat tightened. I was supposed to record this, get something incriminating, but my phone stayed off. Instead, I leaned closer, our faces inches apart, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as Clara's brother, not as a failure, but as me. Clara's texts grew impatient. "What's taking so long? Get it done." But I was slipping. Every moment with Ethan felt less like a job and more like a lifeline. I started dodging her calls, telling myself I'd finish the job tomorrow, then the next day. But the truth was, I didn't want to ruin him. I wanted to keep him. Then came the gala. Clara insisted I go, to seal the deal. It was a glittering event at a waterfront mansion, all chandeliers and champagne. Ethan looked like he belonged there, sharp in a tailored suit, but his eyes kept finding me in the crowd. We slipped away to a balcony overlooking the bay, the air cool and electric. I don't know what's happening, he said, voice raw. But I can't stop thinking about you. I should have pulled back, stuck to the plan. Instead, I kissed him. It was desperate, reckless, like diving off a cliff. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer. And for a moment, the world was just us two people caught in something bigger than lies. But then I saw Clara across the room, her eyes narrowing. She knew. The next morning, my phone exploded with her texts. You traitor. You're done. She'd seen the kiss, pieced it together. The $10,000 was gone. And so was my safety net. Worse. Ethan called, his voice shaky. Clara knows, he said. She's ending it. But I don't care. I want you. Panic hit me like a freight train. I wasn't supposed to feel this. I wasn't supposed to fall for him. I grabbed my bag, threw in some clothes, and ran. Left my apartment, my job, my sister, everything. I caught a bus to nowhere, heart pounding, telling myself I could outrun this mess. But deep down, I knew Ethan wouldn't let me go that easily. Not after what we'd started. The bus rattled along a coastal highway, the Pacific stretching endless and gray to my left. I'd been running for 3 days, crashing in cheap motels, my phone off to avoid Clara's venom and Ethan's pleas. But every mile felt heavier, like I was dragging my heart behind me. I ended up in a small Oregon town, all driftwood beaches and quiet bars. I got a job washing dishes, using a fake name, trying to disappear. But Ethan was a ghost I couldn't shake. His laugh, his touch, the way he'd looked at me like I was worth something haunted me. I checked my phone at night, tempted to call him, but fear always won. What if he hated me for lying? What if Clara had told him everything? A month later, he found me. I was wiping down tables at closing when the door chimed. There he was, rain-soaked, eyes fierce. Eli, he said, voice breaking. Why'd you run? I froze, the rag slipping from my hand. He crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbing my shoulders. I've been looking everywhere. You don't get to just disappear. I tried to explain Clara, the money, the betrayal, but the words choked me. Ethan didn't care. He pulled me into a hug, his wet jacket cold against my skin, and whispered, I don't care what you did. I'm here now. It should have been a relief, but it felt like a trap. I'd built my life on running, on never letting anyone close enough to hurt me. But Ethan wasn't letting go. We spent the next week holed up in a cabin he rented nearby, the kind of place where the world feels small and safe. We talked for hours, unraveling my lies, his doubts, our fears. He told me about his childhood, how his parents' expectations had suffocated him, how Clara had been an escape until she wasn't. I told him about my mom, who'd kicked me out at 17 for being gay, about the years of scraping by, always one step from falling apart. With every word, the walls I'd built crumbled. But Clara wasn't done. One night, my phone lit up with a new number. Her voice was ice. You think you can steal him and walk away? I'll ruin you both. She'd hired a private investigator, dug up my juvenile record, my debts, everything. She threatened to leak it all, to paint Ethan as a fool and me as a con artist. I wanted to run again, but Ethan grabbed my hand. We faced this together, he said. No more hiding. We drove back to San Francisco, the city looming like a battlefield. Ethan's plan was to confront Clara, to end this cleanly. But I knew my sister, she didn't play fair. We met her at a sleek downtown cafe, her smile sharp as a blade. "You're a thief, Eli," she said, loud enough for heads to turn. "And you," she turned to Ethan. "You're pathetic for falling for him." Ethan didn't flinch. "I love him," he said, voice steady. "That's more than you ever gave me." Clara laughed, cold and cutting. "Love. He played you. And when I'm done, no one will touch either of you." She slid a folder across the table, photos of me and Ethan, my old arrest records, even texts I'd sent her about the plan. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just about breaking an engagement anymore. This was war. That night, Ethan and I sat on his couch, the folder between us like a bomb. "We can fight this," he said, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. I dragged him into my mess. And now his reputation, his family's legacy, was at risk. I wanted to believe we could win, but Clara was relentless. And part of me wondered if I deserved this. Maybe I was the screw-up she'd always said I was. The city felt like it was closing in. Each headline Clara leaked, tightening the noose. Blogs whispered about Ethan's scandalous affair with a troubled drifter. My name was everywhere. My past laid bare. I wanted to vanish. But Ethan wouldn't let me. "We're stronger than this," he said, his hand gripping mine like a lifeline. But I felt the weight of his world crumbling because of me. We decided to fight back. Ethan used his connections to hire a lawyer, someone who could counter Clara's smear campaign. I scoured my old emails, looking for anything to prove she'd orchestrated this from the start. Late nights blurred into early mornings. The two of us hunched over laptops, fueled by coffee and desperation. Every touch, every shared glance, reminded me what we were fighting for, not just survival, but each other. Then came the break. I found an email from Clara, sent weeks before I met Ethan, outlining the plan. It was reckless of her to put it in writing, but Clara always thought she was untouchable. "Show the world," I told Ethan, my voice shaking with hope. He nodded, eyes fierce, and we handed it over to the lawyer. The story broke on a foggy Tuesday. A local news outlet publishing Clara's email alongside Ethan's statement. I was deceived. But I found something real. The tide turned slowly. Sympathy swung our way, painting Clara as the manipulator. She lashed out, posting venomous rants online. But they only dug her deeper. Her allies distanced themselves, her reputation frayed. One evening, as the dust settled, Ethan took me to the park where we'd first kissed. The fog was thick, the city lights a soft glow. He pulled me close, his breath warm against my cheek. I meant what I said. He whispered, "I love you, Eli. No matter what." My chest ached, not with fear, but with something new, trust. I kissed him, slow and deep, letting myself believe in us. But Clara's final blow came quietly. A letter arrived, her handwriting neat and cruel. She apologized not for love, but for strategy. She was leaving the city, starting over. But she warned me, "You'll always be the one who breaks things." I read it alone, her words clawing at old wounds. Ethan found me, took the letter, and tore it in half. "She's wrong," he said. "You're not broken. You're mine." We moved forward, Together, Ethan quit his family's company, started his own project, a nonprofit for kids like me, lost and discarded. I enrolled in community college, studying art, something I'd always loved but never dared pursue. We rented a small apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Every night, we'd sit by the window, the city sprawling below, and I'd feel the weight of my past lifting, replaced by something solid, something real. Looking back, I see the irony. Clara paid me to ruin her engagement, but in the end, I found my own salvation. Ethan didn't chain me down, set me free. And as we stood together, hand in hand, I knew we'd face whatever came next. Not as pawns in someone else's game, but as two people who chose each other, against all odds.